Well. There we go. Nice. Welcome everybody. Yeah, I've been digesting what just happened. Hello everyone. Hello. So let's see, can we get the music working in here? First time streaming mobile. Incredible live stream. So what do you guys think? Look, we're gonna get into all of this, right? We're gonna talk about each part of the presentation. I mean, they effectively announced agents, they announced the ChatGPT marketplace, and Jesus Christ, they announced the GPT-4 Turbo API that comes with improvements that not even the most curious and open-minded rumor hunters on Twitter found out, right? So what do you guys make of all this? I would be curious, like, which one of these excites you guys the most? And we're gonna talk about them one by one. And what I'm excited about is that on the stream we're gonna get to talk to them as a community, right? So we're gonna go point by point, and I'm super curious to hear what you guys think here, right? It's not just gonna be about my thoughts, while I will definitely share those, but I really wanna hear. Okay. Yeah, let's get the music out of here. I don't have my mix board with me. Good. So is it better now? Is it better with the music? So what I plan on doing today is I want to have an open discussion with you guys, with the entire chat here, what you guys make of these various announcements. Because this is not just about what I think of these, right? I'll certainly share that, but I really want to hear what excites you, what you're looking to build, what you're looking to try. I mean, we're getting a ChatGPT app store, right? Where you're going to be able to build your own bots and share them with the world. How cool is that? They essentially announced the API for their agents. Yeah, there you go. Music is fine now, right? Like it's gone now. I just turned it off. I think that's fine. We don't need no music. My music is too loud. All right. But I turned it off, my friend. I turned it off. So let's see. Cool. So it should be fine now. Yeah. So we'll talk about all this. So I took notes on everything. I'll summarize everything for you step by step, and then we'll just talk about this as a community. I can't wait to hear what you guys think, because I certainly have my thoughts here. Okay. So we'll just make sure to get the audio right here. By the way, this is the first time that I'm streaming from abroad. I was, I had my concerns here, but we'll figure this out. Voice should be fine now, right? Video looks good as always, and it's cool now. All right, so let's talk about this. Let's just begin by talking about what we heard. I mean, I'm guessing all of you have been participating in the live stream that just happened, and there's a lot to talk about. So first of all, good to have all of you here. As per usual, I just love doing these so much. Please share the country that you're in chat right now. It's always so fun to see how international this community is. It couldn't be more global from my experience. So just share where you're from. And yeah, I'll maybe start. I'm in Portugal right now because, as you might have heard, as you might have seen, I kind of moved countries. And what I did is I brought the whole setup. Like, here's the studio mic. Here's the massive lights. Here's I'm not cutting corners. We're doing hair light, everything out here. So where are you from? Question. I'm not aware what's coming. Good, because then you're in the right place. I'm going to summarize it for you. But first, let's look at where all these lovely people are from, because this is truly crazy. Czech Republic. Good to have you here, man. Nice. I have a Slovakian passport, so we're neighbors. Denmark, United States, Germany, LA, USA, India, France. Guys, some of you stayed up all night for this, right? Texas, Berlin, Poland. Man, I'm absolutely loving this. California. Austria. Nice, man. That's where I grew up. Yeah. Servus. Paraguay, England. All right. So that's absolutely amazing. Zion Leonard from Milan, Berlin. Guys, this community couldn't be any more international. I absolutely love that. So let's get into this step by step. Let's talk about what they announced, okay? So first, the broad overview. The broad overview is they essentially had three big topics, right? So the first one was the update to the GPT-4 API. They made it, they call it Turbo now. It's cheaper. Have a massive context window. I mean, they just had to kind of top Claude, right? Claude did 100K. Everyone was like, ooh, Claude is context king. It might, not as good, but they have the long context. So OpenAI, had to go one level above and be like 128K, man. So they did that. Then they released the ChatGPT updates with GPTs and the GPTs store. Did they call that? Yeah, the GPT store, exactly. where you're going to be able to build chatbots with natural language, which means just like this, you're going to be like, hey, please do this, and could you, have this type of personality. Oh, and here's a PDF from my desktop that you'll just like drag and drop into it, and it does all the technicalities for you, right? No more like anybody who has built chatbots will know how annoying a lot of the technical parts are, right? Like, is it chunked correctly? And then is it retrieving the chunks correctly? And then you kind of have to go in and you have to structure your data correctly. No more of that. You just kind of like drag and drop it in. And yeah, again, like they dropped a bit of a, they just, again, as per usual, with most OpenAI updates, they just deleted another like 10,000 like little OpenAI wrappers that people built. But that's how it goes, I guess. So they're going to have the GPT store. The polls in here are yeah, a lot of Polish people are in here. Absolutely love it. Yeah, there you go. I like it. So yeah, they're gonna have the GPT store, and you're gonna build your own custom chatbot. So let's look at that, and maybe let's even go into the presentation and kind of, I know there was one screenshot in there where they showed the store. Let's talk about that. They showed some like examples in there. So some of them are for specific coding languages, which is really cool, but some others are for specific use cases, right? So just like you had these AI apps that were really good at building a PowerPoint presentation, right? That was like the one use case for the app. Now you're gonna have the same thing, but inside of ChatGPT. You're just gonna go into the store. You're gonna like use the GPT that is there for creating PowerPoint slides. That's one of the examples that I saw on screen there. So I think that's really cool. Bots will replace plugins. Yeah, that's essentially what's happening. They didn't have a single mention of plugins, right? So these new bots, these new GPTs are essentially like have plugins built into them. And guys, this is still just the overview. This is not even the in-depth look, right? So next up, we're going to be talking about the Assistance API. Okay, so in one sentence, essentially they're doing agents, right? But they're acknowledging the fact that agents might not be there yet. And therefore, they're not calling it, Agents API, but they're calling it Assistance API. So I think that's fair because the whole, auto GPT movement, I think everybody agrees at this point that it was kind of like overstated. I think the idea is something that everybody grasps in like a second. It's like very catchy. But then in practice, you're just like, okay, this thing is like interesting, but it doesn't actually get anything done effectively. And then people kind of like abandon it after playing with it a little bit, right? So they're kind of acknowledging that, and they're doing their own version, which they're calling Assistance. There's, function calling and code interpreter and retrieval, and the ability for it to have long, coherent conversations, all in one. You're going to be able to use voice to input, output. Yeah, Auto GPT was just too early. I think that's accurate, Daniel. So it's all coming together. I think, yeah, Robert, I think that's kind of the perfect summary. Like everything we've been following this year, all the various announcements, like every time a little like announcement came out, I made a video about it. Like, nice. Now we have Bing browsing. Now we have plugins. Now we have this. Now we have that. And what this event was really about was about like bringing it together, giving you one API where you can access all of it, giving you, one chatbot where you can activate all of it. If you have ChatGPT Plus, you're just going to open it up and yeah, it's going to be one model. It's going to be GPT-4 with everything enabled. And when you ask it, to create you a diagram, it's just going to do it. You're not going to have to go into the App Store and look for a specific plugin, activate that, and then you're going to like prompt that you want a diagram, and it's going to kind of, this was my experience a lot of the times, it's going to kind of not even use the plugin that you just activated because you didn't prompt correctly for the plugin, because you maybe didn't mention one of the functions of the plugin. So then you have to go in and use a different prompt to find out what functions the plugin has. So you can call them, and like now 4 minutes passed and you're just trying to create a diagram. If it would have been faster to just open up Paint and do it yourself, right? No more of that anymore. You're just going to go in, you're going to be like, hey, I want a diagram of that is similar to this. And then you snap something with your phone and it does that. I think that's really cool, and yeah, it's all coming together. Is accurate. I'm confused. I have the Plus plan that doesn't apply. I believe it's unlimited. So this is a thing that I can't answer yet, because I'm not fully clear on how much of this is coming to the Plus plan. To me, it seems like the GPTs are going to be kind of a add-on extra thing. So with the Plus plan, I think you're going to be getting, Code Interpreter GPT-4, the new turbo model. You're going to be getting DALL-E free. You're going to be getting voice input, output, vision, all that. But when it comes to the chatbots, because they mentioned the revenue share model, to me, it seems like it's going to be extra thing, right? And just given by the fact that you're going to be able to build your own and kind of like sell them and make money off of it, has to mean that it will cost extra, right? They will not be giving you a part of the ChatGPT subscription. So yeah, and also they updated the knowledge to April 2023. So fantastic. So let's talk about all this. And let's define agent along the way. Let's answer all your questions in here. Ireland in the house too. Nice, good to see. So I'll be reading comments here throughout, so you can feel free to chime in at any point in time. I think some of these points that we'll be covering are incredibly interesting to discuss. And I'm just excited that we get to do this in a collaborative manner like this, because some of you certainly have viewpoints that I'd be interested in hearing, and you certainly have a lot to add from what I know, because this is the average IQ in this community is, it's way above average. Let me just say that. So will this be something that they were calling AutoGPT? No, so they didn't use that terminology. But essentially the assistant API is very similar to the AutoGPT concept. Yeah, they call it assistance, and essentially it can run code by itself. It can search the internet. It can call functions. So searching the internet is just one of the functions it can do. Any thoughts on Grok? I think that's kind of a separate topic that I think it's exciting. I think it's cool. I personally kind of love the unfiltered models, and the first video on the channel was actually me showing some of the crazy illegal use cases of GPT 3.5, because like I started using it on December 1st, which was like one day after release, and that was one of the first things that I tried out. I was like, what? Like, can it do these things? And then I just created a video about it that did well, and yeah, here we are a year later, me doing this full time. But yeah, I think Grok is exciting. I signed up for the waitlist, by the way. Yeah, let's just wrap on that. You can go on the Grok announcement, and at the bottom there's a link where you can sign up to the waitlist. It's kind of hidden, but it's just like one button and you can get it. Anyway, I'm excited for all tool GPT-4 default mode and turbo model coming from Canada. Random Bleach fan, much appreciated, man. The super chat in the house, it's certainly appreciated. Good to have you here. Yeah, I love it. It's super international in here. I'm excited for that too. I think that's gonna be huge. I can't wait. I have like the standard set of like 20 use cases that I keep returning to. And with this update, yet again, first thing I'll do is I'll just, go through them and I'll run them through the new model that combines everything into one, and I'll see what it does. Maybe it'll start generating images when I'm asking it to like, I have one where I like mind map a decision tree. Does that make sense? Yeah, I think the prompt is something, I don't know it by heart. It's kind of long, but I create like a mind map of like various decisions that I could take around a piece of content. And I think it might just start using DALL-E for that, right? I haven't tried that yet. So that's going to be huge. Vision API is going to be huge too. So, okay, so let's put a little bit of organization on all of this, and let's start covering this one by one. And I want to hear your comments, okay? So, get your keyboards out, get your, warm up your thumbs, because I want to hear what you guys think of these. And then in the end, we're going to do a little poll on which one is actually the biggest one. Because, I don't know, I have some favorites here, but it's certainly not clear. So let's start by talking about GPT-4 Turbo. Okay, so, let's go from a place, and now it's interesting, we could talk from a development angle where I kind of like assume that you have a bit of development basics, but I don't think that's the best angle to take here. I think we're gonna go from an angle of like, you've been following this channel a little bit, you've seen a few videos, meaning that you probably know what an API is already, right? I'll assume that. But mostly I'll assume that you're like an avid ChatGPT web interface user that is interested in these developments. I think that's the angle I'll take here. Okay, so GPT-4 Turbo, what's up with that? So this is it's a brand new API that they're going to be offering, and essentially it's similar, but they added even more than they did with the upgrade from GPT 3.5 to 3.5 Turbo. So one thing is the massive context window. Okay, so they upgraded it to 128k tokens, which is, into Claude, you can feed a Harry Potter book into Claude. So now you could even feed the longer Harry Potter books into Claude. I think Sam said during the presentation 300-page book, but I think that would need to be large pages. If you're looking at like a Pocket format, then 128K context should total somewhere around 100K words, if I'm not mistaken. So, and I'm just like thinking here on the fly, but basically they're going to be the biggest this is going to be the biggest context window we have access to out of all the various large language models. So right now it was Claude with 100K, and yeah, they just had to one up it with 128K, right? So I think that's really exciting, because one of the biggest limitations is when you're having long form conversations with the, I'm going to call it, what do you want to call it, with the chatbot, with the, I don't know, I don't think I like the term AI. But if you're having long form conversations, it just, especially in the web interface, it forgets so fast, right? You can't, like, as you know, if you've been following the channel, as you know, one of the most powerful techniques you have is multi-shot prompting, which means you give it multiple examples of something. So if you're giving it multiple examples of like a long blog post, then, you know, in the middle of providing like your 4 or 5 examples, it's just going to run out of context. Not anymore, because you're going to have this massive, massive context window. Plus, they also mentioned it's going to have a higher accuracy, which is actually big, because one thing is like, oh, here we have this massive context window, but then it kind of doesn't really respect what's within the context. So I really enjoyed hearing that, because that has been my experience with Claude sometimes, where you just feed it. By the way, if you're from Europe, you need to use a VPN still, I believe, right? I think UK has it now. Anyway, but like you just feed it all this context, all this rich context, and then you kind of like prompt on top of that and ask for some of the info in there, and it just, you know, it ignores it. So that's not going to happen anymore, hopefully, because they said there's going to be higher accuracy. Another one is there's going to be better function calling. So this worked pretty well, but again, it was similar to like the accuracy with the long context. It just had these like, it was just unreliable sometimes, right? It's not something I would rely upon if it was like mission critical to work every time. And that like limits you to certain use cases, right? If you know that it's not going to just perform 10 out of 10 times. So they said, you know, that's going to become better and more reliable. So I'm excited for that. Another one is, and this is huge, and this is also coming to the web interface, April 21st, 2023 is going to be the new cutoff. So no more September 2021, you know. They actually pushed it like 1.5 years later. And they made the announcement that they're going to keep working on this and that they're going to keep improving this, which is, I loved hearing that so much, because up until now it was kind of, they just dismissed it. They didn't even address it. I mean, they kind of like, it felt so good that they didn't, like Sam himself acknowledged that, you know, this is something they were hoping to do, and it was an annoying feature inside of ChatGPT, and that they're working on it. So that's something I personally am really excited about. What do you guys make of that? Because a lot happened in the past 2 years, right? Like just think about the fact that most of like a lot happened in the world, right? Like I don't know if kind of the, you know, events of 2020 and 21 still, you know, get you taken down or on YouTube or whatever, but a lot happened in the world. Let's just leave it at that. And GPT didn't know of it, right? So when you were creating, especially for content creation use cases, I found a lot of the times it was just lacking the up-to-date information. And I'm not even talking about like popular use cases like blog post writing, right? It's going to write a blog post and it's just ignore all the things that happened in the past 2 years. I mean, from a certain, like depending on what you're doing, but depending on your angle, what happened in the past year or two might be more relevant than what happened in the 20 years before that, right? And that's exactly the part that it didn't have. So right now we're just, 6 months behind with April 23, and they promise that they're going to keep improving this. So I think that's huge. Let me look at some of the comments here. I've been talking for a minute here. Yeah, 95 to 100. Yeah, that was right. Nice. Did they mention the universal ChatGPT will be available for all Plus users from today? That is a fantastic question. So I don't know. I didn't catch that in the presentation. What about the other people here? Is it going to be available to ChatGPT Plus users from today? I mean, let me just open up my web interface and just check for you, man, because I'd be curious myself. We could just try it out right away. But I don't have it yet. So I don't know. Maybe everybody in here can check and share their experience. This is like one of the upsides of being live. But I don't, when I open my ChatGPT and I go to GPT-4, I still have the 5 tabs, you know, browse with Bing, code interpreter, plugins, DALL-E free, all that. All right, so maybe, but I don't have it yet. It's probably gonna roll out as per usual, right? Gradually. Enterprise due date. Enterprise is out already, right? Just to certain customers. I mean, I applied, but they never replied. You can now access Claude without a VPN. Yes, in European countries too. I have to try it. To be honest, last time I used Claude was about a week ago, or maybe 10 days ago. Yeah. So, okay, I'll see. I've been using Claude more than ChatGPT recently. Well, that might just change with GPT-4 Turbo, right? Like when they up the context limit. So GPT-4 Turbo, when will it be live for users? So here they did make it clear. They said from today on out, right? So all of this that we've been talking about is the GPT-4 Turbo API, parts of which are going to be also available through ChatGPT, which is the web interface, right? So we talked about the upgrade there with the cutoff date. So it's going to be April 23. But next up, we're getting APIs for all of the new functionality. So for me personally, the most exciting one is the Vision API. I can just see all the people already creating like iPhone apps that are going to use your camera. And then there's going to be like cases that people like. This is just me. This is just me dreaming up things, right? This is not even based in reality. But I can just see people building like Vision API based apps where you're using this camera and you could like, you know, hang it here or hold it out or whatever. I think this is kind of the most convenient place to place it or whatever. Have like a chain with your phone or whatever. And with all the data that it's getting from the phone, maybe it's going to take a picture every, you know, 1 second or something like that. It's going to be able to assist you in a whole different way. I know we talked this in some, I'm not even sure if it was like course events or if it was just like on a meeting or something, but I remember me having this conversation about last week about how you're going to be able to build apps that, yeah, I think it was a course event actually, how you're going to be able to build apps where you kind of just have this like hanging on a chain and it's going to be kind of analyzing your day. And at the end of the day, you're going to be able to ask, so, you know, what could I have done better? And it's going to tell you things like, oh, when you talked to Bob at the coffee machine, he seemed really upset and you just ignored it. Maybe you should apologize to him tomorrow or something like that, right? Just based on the visual information it gets. Because like if it uses the camera, it's going to be able to pick up on you know, human emotions and body language and all that. So I think that's going to be really exciting. And just like people were building on top of the ChatGPT API and you got like thousands of different apps, tens of thousands of different apps, right? I think we're going to see the same wave now with the Vision API, with people just trying and experimenting what they can do with it. And then in 6 months, OpenAI is just going to come out with another update and sweep all of them off the table and just implement the best ones themselves. It is what it is, right? But I think that's really cool. So we're going to get the Vision API. We're also going to get the voice API. So you're going to be able to input voice and output voice. So you were able to input voice with, you know, with, I forgot the name, with Whisper. They also released a new version of Whisper, which, I don't know, they barely mentioned it. They were just like, it's like better. So, okay. So we have a better Whisper now. So that worked like supremely well already. It was the best like voice input model, the best transcription model we had. And now they're also going to do voice output. So, you know, all the startups that offered like APIs for voice output, I don't know, maybe they're going to have like more niche use cases now, but the voices they have sound, I'll just say it, they sound as good as 11 Labs, right? And 11 Labs were kind of the best ones up until now. So we're going to get that natively now. People are going to be able to build that. So expect a whole lot of apps like using cameras and like chatbots that are speaking to you. That's all coming because they enabled this. All of this is from today, by the way, right? So what else is new for the GPT-4 Turbo API? Copyright Shield. Heck yeah. That's a big one for companies, right? Because like every company I talk to, they always have these like these worries of like privacy and, you know, and copyright infringement. And I think they're like well-founded worries, right? But they introduced this thing called Copyright Shield. So essentially, they're gonna take the hit for you if there's some lawsuits against the model that you're using. So I don't know, you built like a company GPT, and then it turns out that OpenAI used like some copyrighted data to train their models, and then you know you would be liable for that. Not anymore. They're kind of guaranteeing that, you know, if the foundation models are faulty, they're gonna be taking the hit. So I think that's pretty cool. Let's see. Let's catch up on comments here. Yeah, doesn't seem like people have access to the to all the bundled features inside of ChatGPT yet. We'll be rolling out new features to OpenAI customers starting 1 p.m. Pacific time today. Let's see, what is that? 1 p.m. Pacific. So that would be 4 p.m. Eastern time, and that would be 10 p.m. Central European time. And I right now am in the London, Lisbon time zone, so that's 9 p.m. So that's in 1.5 hours. So they'll be rolling out these features in 1.5 hours. Amazing. Thank you so much, RuPX, for sharing that. Polish army coming through, huh? Nice. They mentioned 2.5 times cheaper. Does this mean it's less than $9? No, so the 2.5 times cheaper is for the API. So they mentioned that the output is going to be 2 times cheaper and the input is going to be 3 times cheaper. So that means when you give it long prompts or you have a super long system prompt, which is one of the best ways to use it, right? You give it like a super detailed character with rich context, then that's going to be 3 times cheaper through the API. And especially as conversations get longer and you kind of like, for the coders out there, and you're building the list and like feeding it back to it, then it's really great that it got 3 times cheaper to do that with longer conversations. And then output is going to be 2 times cheaper, so they just cut it in half, right? But this does not apply to the web interface. This does not apply to, chat.openai.com, aka ChatGPT. This is for the API. This is, when you're using your API key to build your own apps, run your own code, all that. So no, this is not for the web interface. The default GPT-4 mode changing to GPT-4 Turbo. Yes, that's happening. They said that. Inside of the web interface, inside of ChatGPT, they're switching GPT-4 to GPT-4 Turbo. So, it's going to be more up to date. I guess over time they're going to have larger context window. They didn't talk about that in detail because, with code and enterprise customers already had larger context windows, but the web interface was still limited to 8K. And now they announced 128K. So, yeah, I would absolutely love to have that. Guys, we're not even like halfway through with the announcements. So let's keep going here. Bit behind on the stream. No problem, man. This is all recorded and you can always like set it to twice the speed. Although at the rate I'm talking, like twice the speed might be a little, heart attack inducing. So maybe don't do that. Or I'll just slow down. I can also talk more calmly. Would you guys like this more? But by default, I speak a little faster. I don't know. That's just how I work. What is the benefit of Claude over GPT? Well, in one word, context. If longer context. Claude has 100K. GPT-4 inside of ChatGPT has 8K. So there you go. Now they announced that they're going to have 128K, but who knows when that is coming to the web interface. The Vision API is massive. I agree, man. Diego, that's probably one of the biggest things here. Just being able to build apps that are now going to not just see the world, but understand the world. Because that's what it does, right? Have you, one of the better videos I created recently for sure was the 100 vision use cases. If you look at that, and then maybe, what I did is I thought about some of those and then I returned to the video. And after, spending a few days in a real world and just thinking where vision could I apply, a lot of the use cases that I outlined there, it just opened a whole new understanding of the world to me. Because one thing is OCR technology, where essentially, you're able to take a picture and it reads the text, right? I've had that since a minute. But it's a whole different story if it actually understands the relation of the objects, if it understands the meaning behind each object and what role it has within the scene, right? So right here, it wouldn't just kind of see a door in the background. It would understand that this door leads to another room. And it would understand that this is probably a lock, right? It would understand what the TV is there for. If I asked it, how could I enhance, my frame? It would maybe recommend, maybe turn on the TV or something, because it understands not just that there's a TV, but it understands that the TV can be turned on. See what I'm saying? That's what I also tried to communicate in that video. It's it has a deep understanding of the world. And now people are going to be able to build apps, and we're going to get thousands, tens of thousands of apps with visual understanding of the world. And here's the funny thing. This world that we live in, right? it's all set up to be visual because humans are visual creatures, right? If you just like go out and you try to cross the street, it's not set up in a way that you could easily navigate it without vision, right? If you only hear, right, first electric car and you have a problem when you're crossing the street, right? Because it's all set up to be visual. Cars have to have lights on, and you have like street signs, right? They're not auditory, they're visual. They're also not like there to be touched, right? When was the last time you touched a stop sign? Yeah, it's been a while, right? So everything is set up to be visual. So that's why this like vision API is probably the biggest deal, because the apps that people are going to build on that, they're going to be crazy. I can't wait to see like some like community made Ray-Ban glasses. Maybe like, I don't know. That's going to be interesting. So I'll just leave that there and let's move on. So we talked about the various models, the various new APIs. We talked about the price reduction. And the last thing here is the Turbo, GPT 3.5 Turbo API that most people default to just because GPT-4 was too expensive up until now. Well, it's going to be 3 times cheaper. The 16K model, right? And 16K is kind of like a nice amount of context. Like 4K is really limiting, but 16K is nice because then you can like feed it back to itself a few times. So that's where it starts getting really useful. Like 4K is like really bad, 8K is like meh, and like 16K is where it starts getting like usable, in my opinion. And yeah, a lot of good comments here. Let me get back to these. And that's essentially the first part. That's the update of GPT-4 Turbo API and the updates that are coming to ChatGPT in the web interface. I highlighted those. So we talked about those. And next up, let's talk about the ChatGPT web interface changes, because there's a few. And I think here I would like to kind of pull up the stream and talk about it. So let me read through the comments, and I want to see what you guys make of these improvements. That will be cool, but API cost still expensive, I think. I think you're right, man. I think they didn't really talk about the Vision API pricing, right? Like they talked about the price reduction of GPT-4 Turbo, but my guess, and I'm not fully clear on this, right? Maybe this would be a good question, like, the GPT-4 Vision API and the Voice API, they're going to be separate, right? Or is it all going to be out of the GPT-4 Turbo? I think they're going to be separate. And they're also going to be priced separately. I mean, I could just imagine that, you know, running the Vision API is going to be more demanding than just running text, right? Just kind of makes sense. I see. Yeah, man. So for web design, it's huge, right? Already, like, one of the bigger use cases is you can just, like, take a screenshot of a landing page and just be like, build this for me, or like, what can I improve about it, right? That's already one of the biggest use cases for the Vision API as of, for Vision inside of ChatGPT as of today. That is what Meta wants to create with Ray-Ban. Yeah, exactly. It's just, you know, the Llama 2 model is not as capable as GPT-4, right? That's just like one fact. But it's open source, unless you're, you know, one of the free big companies, the free big tech companies. And it's going to be, and it's super, like, Llama 2 is even more restrictive in terms of kind of copyright. No, in terms of moderation than GPT-4. Even more, right? And GPT-4 is already, like, you can't do a whole lot of, like, gray area stuff. Yeah, but wouldn't Bob need to give permission to be recorded by your AI around your neck? Good question. So these are all things that we're going to need to figure out. But I mean, isn't that the case with live streaming already, right? Like if you're live streaming to Twitch and just like walking around the real world, like you don't really need to get permission of every single person that you're streaming, right? And it's still legal. I don't know. Honestly, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. I think that's a really good question. But, you know, people posting Instagram stories when traveling to new countries, you don't have to get the permission of every single person that you're kind of filming. You know, if you're taking a picture of the Eiffel Tower and there's some tourists in front of it, like you don't really need to get those people's permission to post that Instagram picture, right? I believe that is legal. So then by extension, would, you know, your phone doing something like that locally and just running GPT-4 Vision on top of it, would that be illegal? Maybe. I don't know. It's a good question. Play HT better than 11 Labs? Not sure. Actually, yeah, I'll take a note. Wait a minute. Not familiar. Okay, cool. Let's move on. Oh, What's that's the wrong button. Cool. We can highlight comments like that. Let's do that. I like it. That's like the humane AI pin. Yeah, there's a few of these, right? There's also the one by Rewind. Music is much louder than voice. Just a heads up. I think you just started the stream, right? Sorry for that. Okay. Yeah. Seems like it. Do we have a sense of how big a PDF can we upload and chat with? That will be the best way to chat with a library of PDFs. So, no, there's no... We need to see how they handle retrieval. I think that's one of the big questions, like development questions. So, yeah, by the way, we're gonna move on to the ChatGPT upgrades next. We're gonna discuss those. But so many comments coming in here. I am absolutely loving this. So yeah, in 90 minutes, we're gonna get the updates, right? 70 minutes from here. Bob everywhere will be happy to know ChatGPT has their back. That's a great comment, man. Yeah, for sure. It'll change the world, right? Like, just think about, like, I don't know, for example, what comes to mind is people that are on the autism spectrum, right? They're gonna be able to kind of use these. They're going to be able to use cameras and visual APIs to help them in navigating the world, right? I think that's pretty cool. And that's just the beginning of it, right? I think it's going to become standard. It's just like having a smartphone and scrolling TikTok for some of the world's most interesting, highlight clips has become the default today. I think in the same way, it might be default one day that we, have cameras attached and, oh God, that's dystopian. I don't like that thought, but it's just where it's heading, right? It's like we're gonna have cameras attached to ourselves, and then we're gonna be navigating the world with our AI assistant that is gonna help us. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, what else do we have here? Any decrease in ChatGPT Plus price? No, nothing like that was announced. Nothing like that was announced. Yeah, so much news here. Yeah. Thanks for the comments, Deb. Appreciate it. Yeah. We're getting through this update fast, right? Like, where this is supposed to be a summary and a discussion. I think we're doing good so far. Where do you get the Vision API from? Same place in OpenAI that the standard API. Yeah, so for the assistants, they have a new playground from what I've seen. But basically, I believe it's still just one OpenAI key, right? Your OpenAI API key. And if I had to guess, you're just gonna, in the code, you're just gonna change, GPT 3.5 Turbo or GPT-4. You're gonna change to like a new string. So it's gonna be like GPT-4 Vision, right? GPT-4 Vision. So that's probably what it's gonna look like. Greetings. How are you doing? I'm doing great, Rose. I had a fantastic day. How are you doing? Sunny out here. Love that. Okay. Massive impact on digital marketing. Yeah, man. It already has. I think digital marketing is like one of the areas, like coding is another one, where it's like already huge. What I also noticed, like most of like the customers that bought either the course or the new product, they're always like, a lot of them are digital marketers. I can also see it like from the popularity of like certain characters with the new product. They're always like focusing on the digital marketer and the web designer and the social media manager. Like, digital marketing is definitely top 3 use cases for AI as of today, I would say. Yeah, for sure. Take a picture of the product and ask the best way to promote it. Yeah. Or you just take and then like you do that, right? And then you kind of make the promotion your own. And then you take a screenshot of what you created, like in Photoshop or Canva or whatever, and you feed it back to it and say like, okay, what could I improve about this? Or like, how is this going to resonate with target audience A? And then guess what? You designed your free target audiences with GPT beforehand based on the competitor's products. Like, it's insane, right? You start off, you're like, hey, I like this like Apple website and their iPhone. How could I position, my web design course just like they are positioning their product? And then it's like, oh, here's the target audiences. And then you're like, all right, can you create a mock-up for me? And it's going to use DALL-E 3 to create the mock-up. Cool. Then you're going to take the image, you're going to feed it back in, and you're going to be like, all right, so how could I make it speak to audience A even more? And then it's going to give you suggestions and use DALL-E 3 to kind of like make it happen again, right? It's all just like, you just have to understand these tools, and it's a big edge. I don't think it's kind of the 10x or 100x edge that people make it out to be. I don't think somebody, an AI marketer is going to outperform a non-AI marketer if they're both experienced by like a factor of 10. But I think, all other things being equal, it's just not fair. It's just not fair. You like have a designer, you have all these things. It's just not fair if you know how to use these things already, right? And now they're getting even better. So let's talk about that. How are they getting better? Datengeflüster, you are a lawyer. Yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts. Like what is the, Vision API with phones? Like, where's kind of the line that people wouldn't be allowed to cross? Like, could you theoretically, could I put this on my chain and have it take a picture every second, and then at the end of the day, I just run the Vision API across all the pics, and then have it like give me advice on how I could have navigated my day better? Like, what's the, if you run it privately, I don't think there should be an issue, right? But then who knows? Like, what are your thoughts on that? I would love to, if we have lawyers in here, I would love to hear thoughts on that. It's like the Creative Commons license with YouTube, yeah. Okay. Let's talk about ChatGPT. Hey, Reverend, good to have you in here, man. Hope you're well. Hope you're well. Yeah, LLMs in your iPhone will do everything. Yeah, that's just a question of time, right? It's kind of obvious now. By the way, for anybody, here's like my content recommendation of the week. We usually do this in the weekly newsletter, but the last 15 minutes of the latest All-In podcast, one of the highest quality state of AI discussions that I've heard probably in the last like 3 months. Seriously, like All-In podcast, newest episode, last 15 minutes. Just listen to that. They kind of go crazy discussing like where the space is heading or like what happened. And particularly Chamath does a great job at outlining how, I think I might butcher this, but I thought the summary of how a combination of the invested capital and hardware development and the advancements in, transformer technology, if you add all those up, you kind of end up in a place, I think he said, by a 400x improvement in performance from like a consumer standpoint. And I think that is so accurate because it's just uncomparable. Like if you look at GPT-2 and compare it to what we have here with like ChatGPT Vision, God, it's hard to put a number on that, but that feels about right. And I don't know if you're curious to hear, kind of a macro overview of the AI space and where it's heading, and like in a historical context, and you want to hear from an investor's perspective where everything is heading. I think the last 15 minutes of the All-In pod of the latest one was one of the highest quality discussions I've seen in a while. So anyway, check that out. What if I wanted to keep up with these updates? Any social media accounts or newsletters you recommend? Oh, Daniel Pierce, the man that helps us run our social media accounts. Well, there's the AI Advantage accounts on both Twitter, Instagram, and our newsletter that you could check out. But beyond that, my personal favorites are, I really like Rundown by Rowan. It's really good at summarizing. If you want more dense information and you want it daily, then Ben's Bytes. There's that's the place to find like. It's a bit of an avalanche of information every day though. So if you're into that, that would be the one. And other social media accounts, I think on YouTube, clearly Matt Wolf is the person to follow for news. And for more technical topics, you've seen him. Like I've collabed with, I think Chris from All About AI is fantastic if you're into coding and if you're into the more technical side of development, and then Christian Heidorn for Midjourney and image stuff. And I also really enjoy AI Explained, and yeah, those are the first ones that come to mind. And many more out there. Like there's probably a list of like 10, 15 great accounts, especially on YouTube. I think YouTube has some of the highest quality like AI content out there. I think Twitter can be a little clickbaity. No, not clickbaity. That's not the word. Engagement farmy. That's what I would say with all the threads and stuff. It got better though. Anyway, back on topic, right? There's just so many good comments in here. I could just keep talking to you guys forever. The new product, we can talk about that later. But I don't want to like talk about the product right now. But yeah, it's essentially just briefly for anybody who's been confused. I think that's for good reason. We first released custom instructions catalog. That got upgraded to the character blueprint, and now we're rolling out the third evolution of that. It's a free upgrade to everybody who bought the character blueprint, and arguably it's it's legitimately like 20 times the product it was when we released it in August. So that's a quick summary. We can talk about that later on. I need those agents in my Discord. Yeah, man, you're gonna be able to have them soon. We have them in the team chat, actually. We built like our own like agent Discord bot. We can talk about that. Okay, too many good comments here, guys. Man. We should have a video on that in the future. I think that'd be a great video. I would love to have like a discussion with a lawyer on this, you know? So, you know, if you want to share some of your thoughts, just hit me up in the email. I would, you know, I might incorporate it in an email. Happy to shout you out. If if you provide value to this community, then hey, I'm here for it. The social skills coach, maybe even romantic tips. Yeah, man, like I think that'd be actually huge, right? It'd be kind of funny. Yeah, oh my God, so many videos idea pop up, right? Like if you just think about kind of it'd be such a funny video if you, oh my God, if you took like this format where they have like 10 guys come into a warehouse, into like a studio, and then they like date one girl, and then the girl like gets to hit a red button. Like if you had like an AI coach in there where it like uses vision to kind of like analyze their, whatever, I'm going too deep into the ideas here, but I think there's gonna be a lot of fascinating stuff with that. Okay, GPT-4 fine-tuning. Yeah, we didn't even talk about that, right? But I have it on here. You're going to be able to fine-tune it on your own use cases, input-output pairs. Yeah, it's going to be like a fifth sense, indeed. Yeah. All right, so let's move on. I think I caught up. I can find a link on your website to sign up for the newsletter. I think that's just myaiadvantage.com/newsletter. Or you can just go to myaiadvantage.com and then click newsletter on top. Yeah, that's it. Simple. You get a free ebook with it. And yeah, I think we have a really fantastic newsletter, actually. It's once a week, summary of all the best stuff. Yeah, MatVid Pro. MatVid Pro is fantastic at like the first impression stuff, right? Love that. Sometimes if I don't have the energy to like engage in something, I'm just like, Matt, please show me. Yeah. Great guy too. All right. I caught up. So let's move on. So ChatGPT upgrades. What's happening? Well, no more model picking. We talked about this, right? So you're going to have code interpreter, aka advanced data analysis. You're going to have DALL-E free. You're going to have vision. You're going to have GPT-4. You're going to have browsing with Bing. Yeah, I think that's all of them. All in one. You're just going to go to chat.openai.com. You're going to put in what you're looking for, what you're trying to generate. And there you have it. And if you go a step further and you have your custom instructions set up, which I don't know, I'm sorry. At this point, I just recommend it in like every piece of content of mine because legit, it's like 90% of my ChatGPT usage. I have like a certain set of custom instructions off, a specific one. It's just the best way to use it in my opinion. But if you have all that, then, you know, you have access to the internet. You have the ability to run Python code in a sandbox, you know, do computations, you can do math. You can create plots. You're going to have vision. Right? You can input images and use those as context. The picture says more than 1,000 words. So like you can have that. You can have your custom profile and custom instructions. It can browse the internet. It can create images. It can intake images. All of those functionalities in one chat, right? So I'm curious because sometimes like, okay, let's put the hater hat on, you know, and let's talk about the fact that, for example, like browsing with Bing, like, let's be real, it's pretty bad, right? It was like when it came out, it was like meh. It was meh at best. And when they re-released it, I covered it in a video. It was like every use case that I tried on launch, it performed worse, right? That was the whole video. I was like, okay, let's try these like 4 or 5 use cases. And here's the TLDR. Like it just did worse on all of them. You know, I think on one of them it did equally as well. So I was like, yeah, this is kind of useless, right? So then I like turned it off. And now they like don't even allow you to turn it off. And now with the newest update, it's just going to be baked in. So here's a question I have. Like, first of all, did that get better? And secondly, if it didn't, like, how can I turn it off? Like, what if I don't want all functions of GPT-4 in one? What if I only want the ones that work for me? What if I don't want it to generate images with DALL-E, right? I'm sure I'm going to be able to turn it off. I mean, of course they're going to have that, but like how am I going to prompt around it? And is it just what are the weights on the various functions, right? This is a question I would ask if I got to talk to Sam now. I would ask him like how, you know, how does it prioritize? Because in most use cases, you could make a case that you will want to look through the internet, right? So let's say you upgraded, let's say you took a screenshot of a website and you want to like build a landing page, right? So you would want code interpreter, you would want a vision module, but also arguably you might want to look for similar websites for GPT to look at those and to take that context and to bring it to the task that you gave it, right? So how does it decide like which ones of those it does? Is it going to browse the internet? Is it going to look for articles that have tips on landing page building? I don't know. Maybe. I guess we'll see, but it would be nice to, I don't know, but this is like from the perspective of power user, right? But it would be nice to kind of set the priorities or like now turn this on, turn this off. It's kind of tricky. Trexamino, yo, what are we doing? What we're doing is we're summarizing the entire OpenAI Dev Day event, and we're having a live discussion around it with the chat here. So we're going point by point. We covered the GPT-4 Turbo API, and right now we're covering all the updates to the ChatGPT interface. And so right now we're talking about model picking. So those are some of my initial thoughts on that. I don't know. What do you guys think though? Like it seems a bit, yeah, and they're dropping plugins, right? You see no more mention of plugins, but they did blend the plugins into the GPTs. And that brings me to the next topic. Yeah. Bing needs to be prompted more precisely. Yeah, good point. But then like, you know, like if you just wanted to like if you wanted to like Google something, then you kind of wanted to make its own decisions too, right? Because otherwise like I have to do the extra work. I don't know. Yeah, simply use the custom instructions to not use Bing unless I ask to. I like that. We'll update every single preset we have with that. Just don't use Bing unless I explicitly tell it to. I'm gonna put that in there. Yeah, browsing right now is really the worst. Yeah, I'm curious about GPT-4 Turbo with all this too. Same page. Okay, cool. So let's talk about the GPTs, man. This is the part that for me personally is the most exciting. Because a lot of the things that we've been experimenting on with the team are just like in the web interface, because I want to make the stuff we work out accessible to most people, and that's just the web interface is the way to do it. And now like this is probably the biggest leap. I don't know, it's so hard to quantify because all of these are like big leaps, but it's definitely a massive leap, because now they're going from like, okay, you literally get like one text box in which you can share your prompt, which can be whatever, right? It can be every single question you can think of, every single task you can think of, with as much context as we can handle, you know, like up to 8K tokens, 6K words. That was the limitation right now, right? So, you know, you could go ahead and you could show it like free articles, and you could give it your personal style. You could give it a backstory. You could give it your preferences. You could give it a certain structure that you wanted to follow. You could give it the instructions, all that. You could give it an image to give it visual context, and then you could run your prompt, right? That's kind of like the most advanced way of using it. Give it as much personal context as possible. Give it as much context as possible, right? Whether that's visual, whether that's like about you and your goals and your backstory and your preferences, your tone, your voice. Like if you do all that, you're gonna get super high quality. And as I've heard before, I think Marcus Cronin put this out. He was like, the answers are really pointy. I really like that, like really pointy answers. That's a good answer, right? If an answer is pointy, it's a good answer. And that's how you got to those. But what these GPTs are gonna like change, and by the way, that's like what most of the tutorials on this channel like teach, right? When it comes to prompt engineering, it's like different ways of making the answers kind of like more pointy. And what this is changing is that you're gonna need less of that context because you're gonna have more of it preset. So that's why I've been so big on preaching that, you know, everybody should be using custom instructions, just because of this, because it allows you to kind of like standardize a rich context that you give to it. But now you're gonna be able to use one of the GPTs, either one of your own or one of the ones from the GPT store. And here I wanna like pull up the presentation and look at the little screenshot that they had in there. But yeah, when is the all-in-one GPT-4 coming? That's a good question. So the APIs apparently are available in 1 hour and 4 minutes. We need to stop before there because everybody will want to experiment. Custom instructions window will be bigger. I don't know, man. So they weren't clear on this. They weren't clear. Hey, Neo Nomad, good to have you here, man. Oh, it's good to see you back. Dobrý deň, pane. But the point here is, let's look at the GPT-4 store together. So let me just quickly pull this up. And then for all of you that stick around until the end of the stream, which I don't know how long we'll go, but for everybody sticking around, I'll have an announcement to make, considering something we built, and this is gonna be the first place I shared in public. I think this might be a good moment. But anyway, so there you go. That's loud sound. So let me just pull this up here, and let me share my screen with you. So there we go. Yep, here we are. So let's have a look. So I remember they had a brief, it was somewhere around here. They had a brief, they had a brief screenshot here of the GPT store. So I believe it was before here. This was the demo. This was the Canva GPT. So that's essentially it. Like, for specific use cases, you're gonna have separate GPTs, and what essentially a GPT is, it's a custom chatbot, right? Here's the code.org lesson planner that has all the data. Here's one that connects to Canva. So it's essentially a different like variation of plugins. It's a different implementation of plugins because the one up until now didn't really work, right? But the thing that I'm looking for, it should be here any second. So this is the demo of the GPTs here. This is it. This is the frame. So this is a preview of the GPT store, right? So let's analyze this together in detail. I'm gonna put this to max resolution. And look at that. Okay, so you're gonna have like featured ones, recent ones, and your own GPTs. That makes sense. And then you're gonna have categories. So productivity is the obvious one. DALL-E, writing, programming, data analysis, education, lifestyle, just for fun. Interesting. Chat.openai.com/store. So this will be a part of ChatGPT. So this communicates that there's gonna be a button like, GPT store or something will show up soon. And let's look at these four. So the first one is one, I'm guessing for building in React, right? React components in seconds, describe it with words, a sketch. Describe it with words, a sketch. Does that make sense? Anyway, so you're gonna be able to, doodle up a website and it's gonna build it in React. That's pretty cool. So, you could do that with GPT-4, but this is gonna be specifically tuned for that. It's probably gonna have even more documentations, and it's probably gonna have, it's just gonna be fine-tuned for that use case. Well, maybe fine-tuned is not the word, right? It's gonna have the knowledge base to perform that task better. It's probably gonna have advanced data analysis on. It's probably gonna have DALL-E turned off. It's gonna probably have vision enabled, this particular one, right? So the Reactify GPT. Okay, what's the next one? Beautiful word clouds with smart clustering. All right, so you can see these are very specific use cases that this is going to deliver. So here's a question for all of you. I mean, heck, almost 200 people in chat here. What is the one GPT that you would, two questions. So first of all, what's the one GPT that you would try building yourself? What would you upload? Would you upload your school documents, maybe your kind of work manual, or I don't know, what GPT would you try building yourself first? And second question, which one would be most useful to you? I think that's a good one. So yeah, just feel free to answer one or both. Which one would be most useful to you? So for me, it would be kind of like a omnipotent YouTube god type of GPT, right? Where it's educated, kind of like Mr. Beast's brain GPT, right? I think that'd be really fun. Where it has all of his podcast transcripts and has all of his video scripts and has everything he ever said on the internet about video creation. And then it also has a bunch of other YouTube knowledge in it. I think that'd be a really exciting GPT to interact with, right? And people made that, right? People made like custom bots like that. But the thing is, it's like just the whole like knowledge base problem is not so easy to figure out. And a lot of people who are building these custom chatbots, it's like some of those problems are really hard. Like especially like how to structure the data. It's not an easy problem. And this is gonna do all that for you because you're gonna get a GPT builder and you're gonna get to build with natural language as we talked about. Meaning like just gonna say, hey, I want the chatbot to be, you know, friendly yet professional. And I wanted to know about these 10 documents. You drag and drop 10 documents and that's it. So that's going to be really cool. But yeah, and that's how these are built. So we can look at the builder here in a second. But essentially, let's look at number 3 and 4. So mid-century future. Wondrous interior decor straight from the 2050s. Nice. So this is going to be like a DALL-E free model that only creates like futuristic furniture. That's really cool. So this is essentially what like Leonardo AI has today, right? They have like these fine-tuned models that are like really great for a specific use case. So they're going to have that now too for DALL-E and for GPT. How cool is that? And for like code use cases. Okay. Then there's Autodeck. Effortlessly elegant slides. What is your presentation about? So essentially this one is just going to be built to create like beautiful slides. So there goes another 50 OpenAI wrapper startups. Oh, my bad. Sorry for activating that. I hope that it wasn't too loud. Let me just mute that. But yeah, and essentially then you're going to get this builder that is, it's like a natural language builder. So as you can see here, you're just going to get to like activate, you know, do I want my GPT to have web browsing? No, you probably don't, as we talked about. Do I want it to have DALL-E? Do I want it to have code interpreter? What kind of actions do I want in here? So these are going to be like functions, I'm guessing, right? Did they show these off? I don't think they showed the actions off. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. Yeah, what are the base instructions, you know? As a GPT designed for startup founders, I'm here to help brainstorm and refine their business ideas. So just by saying, you know, I want a GPT for startup founders, it's going to like write its system prompt itself. How cool is that? And then you're going to have like basics conversation starters. Like this is essentially a no-code chatbot builder, right? Very intuitive and with natural language. And I think there's still space for the ones out there, you know? I think there's a lot of good things to be said about node-based no-code chatbot builders, right? By the way, I have a tutorial on how to do that as a complete beginner coming out later this week. So that's something I've been looking to create since a while. And the one that I wanted to create it on, actually, the company that I wanted to create it on actually reached out to sponsor a video, and I was like, that's a video I literally was like preparing, so let's do it. So there's a video coming later this week on how to build no-code chatbots with like zero coding experience. So that's going to be really cool. But anyway, like this is going to be even simpler than that, right? That's kind of the next level. Like if you just want to try it, this is going to be the way. But if you want to kind of like see what else is possible, you know, how to work with a node-based system, that's where you will want to go into one of these. Well, that's a funny thing. Like if you think about it right now, the no-code builders, they were really kind of the simplest level that you could do this at, right? They were kind of the entry level. So, you know, there was like node-based editing and a lot of options. Even when they try to simplify it, there was a lot of options. But now it's going to be this, right? Just going to talk to it. It's going to be like, hey, I would like a chatbot that has the personality of Steve Jobs, right? And I would like, you know, right, to have the info from these PDFs, and I would like for it to have access to the code interpreter and all these things, and I would like it to greet all users with this message. And then you're going to be able to put it up, and you're going to be able to share the link with all your friends and family and coworkers and bosses, and a lot of opportunities for sure. So again, what do you guys think of this? I'm like, we're going to talk about Assistant API next, but I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on these GPTs, because this feels like the most fun thing to play with here. Sure, all the, you know, context window and price decrease and update of kind of like the knowledge that it has, the knowledge cutoff, like all this is super exciting. No more model picking. That's going to be fun. But like these GPTs, I think we're going to have a lot of fun with this on the channel. Expect more live streams and expect videos around that for sure. Like, yeah. I want to see that. So let's see, what do you guys think of these GPTs? How would you use them? Let me look through some of these comments here. I've been ranting since a while. So let's see. When are these features dropping? So yeah, in 55 minutes, apparently we're getting the APIs and the ChatGPT upgrades. We'll see. We'll see. They didn't give us a date on that. Okay, will the stream be available on your channel? I have to pop in out. Would like to see the entire stream. Absolutely. So that's a beautiful thing about streaming on YouTube. It's all pre-recorded. You can just go to the channel under the live tab. You can always rewatch these. You can go at 2x speed. 4K max output. Let's see what else. Did you talk about the XAI? Yeah, we talked about it briefly at the beginning. I think it's really exciting. I signed up for the waitlist. I think it's really, you know, I think more competition is good, and I would love to see a bit more of an uncensored competitor enter the arena. Yeah. Yeah, it's like Mind Studio. Interesting. The store will get flooded anytime soon, and it will be overwhelming to the point that it hardly delivers value. Yeah, maybe, but this seems like, you know, this store interface looks way more like the App Store. So they have like recommendations and categories, as opposed to the plugin store where they didn't even have search at first, right? So it was just legitimately like, it was just a dump of like every company that wants to build a plugin can do it really easily, because yeah, it was just really easy to get plugins up and running, and all of a sudden you had like 1,000 plugins, right? We started like the plugin database, but then we kind of abandoned the idea after like a month. Like we didn't charge for it. We kind of just like went out there and started doing it. But we realized, like, first of all, most of the plugins are not very useful. We saw that by like nobody on the team returning to them regularly, except of maybe like WebPilot and Wolfram, and maybe like if for specific use cases for learning, I think there were a few good ones. But maybe, you know, the amount of useful plugins was maybe like 10 at best, right? But all of a sudden you had like 900, 1,000 plugins, right? So that was not a good implementation. But I think with the store interface, it looks way more promising. It looks more curated, right? They can have like editors picks, and you'll see the popular ones, as opposed to just kind of a flood of everything that people build. But yeah, for sure, people will be building a lot of these. Great. So how now we can create and monetize? Yeah, absolutely. So if you create, you know, interesting bots that people will be using, then you can do that. It's similar to the Poe concept. If you're not familiar, Poe.com, they let you build various chatbots. They actually even give you like free access to GPT-4 for like a message, I think, or what was it? But it's like a bit of access. But you could also use Claude through there, even in the EU. Apparently now it's available to everyone. Did you watch the Mr. Beast YouTube tutorial on his custom bot? I'm not sure what you mean. Do you mean the Matt Wolf video? Or was there a Mr. Beast video? I don't know. Useful for me, image to website. Yeah, totally. So I think like web design is one of the big use cases, 100%. Yeah, web developers and game developers, huge tool. Prompt writer for Midjourney, as I use a separate chat for that. Exactly, so it's gonna be so cool, right? I have like all these like go-to prompts, and rather than having like go-to prompts, I would create like go-to chatbots, right? So every time I'm like brainstorming ideas for YouTube, I have like a set of a few prompts that I always do. I always like do a mind map, and I you know, use Vision to screenshot my channel and the homepage, and I just generate ideas like that. I think that's super useful, and I would love a bot that specializes in that, right? That has the custom instructions. Like I always use like a YouTube researcher character in the custom instructions for it too. So I would just love to have all that preset in like one GPT, you know, and have a little drop down where I can just select that and like, nice, now I'm gonna spend, you know, 5 minutes brainstorming, and no need to like copy paste custom instructions and copy paste the prompts and everything. Right now, like my whole workflow is a lot of copy pasting, and yes, there's plugins and everything, but then I have like 2 machines. I have this and my Mac Mini, and like I have to have it on both, and then it has to like sync. It's I don't know, it's not ideal. I'd rather have it in the web interface. Okay, I'll be building an agent that will handle my inbox. Nice. When brand deal offers come in, it will know what deals I like, don't like, my pricing preferences, etc., and will handle the negotiation for me. I think that's a really cool use case, actually. That could be really fun. But Yeah, I think I don't love that for like customer support, because like, especially like for the AI advantage, I still handle all the customer support by myself, and it's like eating up a big part of my life, to be honest. But I think it's worth it, because like kind of the personalized touch, and just people knowing that, you know, if they have a question about like any product, that they can like reach me and not like some agent. I think down the line I will be kind of like forced to outsource that somehow, but that's like one thing that I still keep near and dear. So, you know, if you write an email to igor@myadvantage.com, which we send out like the newsletters with and everything, like it's gonna reach my inbox and I read it daily. So I wouldn't want to automate that. But I think, you know, for brand deals, that's more of a repetitive, you know, kind of activity, as opposed to like a personal touch with viewers, right? So it's different. So there, I think that use case is really cool, actually. Preliminary medical evaluation of non-emergency things. Yeah, I think cool. That could be like, I know very little about the medical field, but that sounds exciting. Like a first kind of like checkup, right? Like an assistant would do while patients are waiting. Sounds pretty cool. Have your personal coach and assistant in one? That sounds great too. Yeah, the funny thing is I already started building it with a vector DB and some no-code tools. And now I'm hitting the pause button for this to roll out. Yeah, I mean, makes sense, right? It's going to be so easy to maintain this too, I bet. You're going to be able to share it really easily. Like, good luck sharing like a chatbot with other people, you know? Like, I guess you could, you could send them the web interface. This is just going to be better, because they're going to like, I bet there's going to be something where you're going to be able to kind of like download the GPT, and then in the dropdown, you're going to be able to change from like GPT-4 to GPT 3.5 to one of the custom GPTs, right? It's all going to be right there. So like, you're going to have one website. It's like, this is the thing we've all been waiting for. I love it. So ChatGPT will update to 2023 soon. Yeah, I believe that it should be already. I think they said it's updated. It's cut off in what is it, in March April 2023 already. So I don't know if it's today or tomorrow or like in 2 days. But yeah, essentially that's happening. Some people got it a week ago on Twitter, right? Like some of these announcements, they were just like testing it already. Some people got all the models in one. I don't know anybody, but like apparently some people got that. And then same thing for the knowledge cutoff. Some people got that like 2 weeks ago. No code chatbot. UAI? No, it's not. It's not. It's actually BotPress. I think they're the simplest. Yeah, a chatbot that can actually write code. I need to integrate with Hyperride. So when I'm chatting, I can go find relevant information. When for the no-code chatbot tutorial? It's essentially ready to go. I just have so many like exciting videos in the work. I don't know how to sequence them, because some of them are like really bold and they announce like really big things. Okay, so for all of you guys like here that like stick around for live stream, I appreciate you so much. First of all, just thank you for like being this engaged in the AI space, and I mean it says a lot. You know, I love that. But I think this is a great place to kind of announce what we built and to gather some like straight feedback live. So, you know, once we're through all of these announcements and we're done with the discussion, we can do a little Q&A, and then in the end, I'll kind of like announce what we've been building over the last 3 months. I think it's actually super unique, and yeah, and we're creating a video where I'm kind of giving all the essential pieces of it out for free. So that's also cool. But yeah, next up, let's talk about the Assistance API. But okay, let me catch up on questions and let's do that. I love all of these big brain questions that you guys are bringing here. They said something about world knowledge in the stream. Not sure what the world knowledge means. And maybe kind of like the knowledge that GPT has, the cutoff. Yeah, April 23 is the new cutoff, if that's what you mean. The plugins never really worked right. Yeah, that's kind of true. Like in practice, like I thought a web pilot was always like a better Bing, right? I think that's super fair to say. I think Wolfram was really useful when you needed it. Like that worked really well. For Zapier, I didn't really have a use case where I would like to use it. It was kind of fun to send that email or like create drafts from within GPT when I tried it. But like then in practice, like you could just copy paste, right? It's like a 1 second interaction, and then that like or like 3 second interaction, and then copy pasting is simpler than, you know, activating Zapier and making sure it's linked to the right account, and then like it creates a draft, and then you have to go to Gmail, and then you edit the draft. It was kind of like easier to do just the work in GPT and then just copy paste it and edit it. Like the Zapier plugin essentially saved you like the copy pasting in a lot of cases. But now it changes, right? You're going to be able to use these. And this is the last thing that I should point out with these GPTs. You're going to be able to use these with the plugins, it seemed. They showed off this one for Canva, right? Where it kind of like directly integrated with Canva. Yeah. So that means you're going to be able to build these GPTs, and then they're going to be able to integrate with external websites. Yeah, that's one thing I forgot to mention. Because that's actually huge, you know. Let me go back to the screen. Let's have a last look at this. Yeah, there you go. So these are the different GPTs here, right, on the left. So you have ChatGPT, you have Zapier AI Actions, you have Canva, and then code.org lessons. And then you can explore, that's going to be the store, right? But essentially, what's going on here? So here it's running something. Then you can attach data. And then up here you can see all the thinking it's doing, but probably the code, the different actions. So I don't know, I'm not fully clear on how this will work, but apparently, look, it directly like integrates into your calendar when you're using the Zapier GPT. So now it'd be interesting to see if you could build a GPT that uses both Zapier and Canva and DALL-E 3 and Vision and knows about all of your past Instagram posts. And then you just say, you know, create me 5 new posts, right? And then it uses Canva to kind of like create them. It uses DALL-E to create them, uses Canva to design them, and then it uses Zapier to schedule them. God, social media is going to get so messy. Like, I'm not sure if it's going to be able to do that. I'm just saying, like, if it's not able to do that now, it's going to be able to do that in a few months, or somebody is going to build it, right? Social media is going to get so noisy, you guys. Holy moly. Like, especially all the short form stuff, right? Like, if it's just like text only, or if it's like just an image, like recreating like a 2-hour live stream where, you know, we're interacting, I think it's feasible. I can see that happening. But essentially, I think that's going to be a bit... That's the longest shot, right? Replacing like YouTube content. Definitely not unthinkable, like in the near future even. But like, you know, Twitter and TikTok and Instagram is like, God, they're going to be flooded with this content, because it's not just like GPT, write me a caption. It's going to be like, GPT, create 200 posts for me. Cool. Or like, you know, create 10 and then you run it 20 times. And then you're going to have like 3 uploads a day, and they're all quite good. I don't know, man, what this is going to do to social media. That's pretty crazy. Anyway, so that's our little discussion around GPTs. So I hope that was helpful. Now let's move on to the assistant APIs. But before I do that, I'll just scroll through these comments here. You guys have really good ones. It's already GPT-4 Turbo for all users. Yeah, so let's test that briefly. You know, I think this is something really worth testing. So let me just open chat.openai. Make sure custom instructions are off. There you go. And let me just say, when is your knowledge cut off? I don't know, I'm just freestyling this, but I believe this should do it. Yep, April 2023. So that's it. This is the new model already. So, you know, we just jumped 1.5 years ahead. Huh. Amazing. So yeah, confirmed. We already have the new model. So that's really cool. All right. Hello from Florida. Hello from Lisbon, Portugal. Nice to have you here, Chad. Nice to have you here. Text-to-speech is cool, but I do wonder how will it handle multiple languages. Any word on speech-to-text? Yes, there is word on speech-to-text, because the assistant API that we're about to talk about has both. It has... Wait, speech-to-text? Did you ask? Yeah, speech-to-text is easy, man. They have Whisper already, right? So Whisper is the best transcription API available, where it just like takes your voice and it transcribes it, and then can prompt on top of it, and you can feed it to ChatGPT. So speech to text has already been solved. Now they also released text to speech with 6 different voices. That's going to be available for the Assistant API, which we're talking about next, and it's also going to be available as a separate API. Yeah, the voice API. So yeah, absolutely, that's happening already. I use it for medical billing. I believe chatbots will change everything. Yeah, I agree. Also accountants, man, that's the, oh my God. If we talk about exciting use cases like content creation, cool. That's what I do most of the time. But accounting, oh my God, I'm going to build oh my God, guys, oh my God, this is like the biggest pain in my life. Like every month, I love online subscriptions, and most of them run like on my limited liability company, on my company. And God, like, I don't know if anybody has a solution to this, but like, when I want to pull in my Canva invoice, and actually I think Canva sends a PDF, they don't send them via email, right? So I directed them all to like a certain email address. But that's only like 20 to 30% of the invoices. I have so many subscriptions, Google Workspace and Canva and this like esoteric AI app. And like all of that is like built to the company because it's like company expenses. But for me to like gather as an entrepreneur, like gather all those invoices once a month, it's the most painful 3 to 4 hours that I have to spend every single month. It's always the same process, like just like log in to like 40 different websites, navigate to the billing section every time, and then like download it. If I could have like some sort of, assistant that like, because it's always the same thing, right? It's always like go to this website and then like use my login information and then navigate to their like unique, through their sitemap to the billings page, and then like invoices hides under a button that they kind of hid on the bottom right, and then there's so many that it kind of, it's always a pain. So if I could have a bot that does that with vision, that kind of just like navigates that, like the ultimate thing would be just like have a 3-hour screen recording of me doing the whole thing and maybe commenting on what I'm doing, and then uploading it, and then it creates, like, this is not possible now, right? But this is what I would want. And then it creates the bot that kind of replicates that and navigates the internet and like navigates the browser and does all those steps. And the result is just you hit play and then you just have all the invoices in a folder, right? Like if it could do that, oh boy. Oh boy. That would be like a case of, please replace that job of mine. Yes, AI, please take my accounting job. I know, yes. Yes, so it's updated. There we go. Reverend, appreciate that. I appreciate all the love, man. We love you too, man. You're great. Thanks for always participating. I really value that. Okay. Let's be done now. Yeah, the whole Discord gang. You bet. We have some interesting things coming up, but that's more like December and January announcements than now. Do you think GPT Builder thing will rival Character AI? I think, man, the revolution with your Arnie picture there. By the way, fun fact, I don't think anybody knows this, but I grew up for 4 years, 3.5 years. I lived in the town that Arnold Schwarzenegger was born in, Thal, next to Graz in Austria. Irrelevant fun fact of the day, but yeah, I don't think they're gonna, are they gonna rival it? Actually, now that you say it, yeah, kind of, yeah. I think Character AI is doing some unique things that set them apart. I think they could become kind of the niche, like character reproduction. Ooh, you know what? There's one video on the channel that is gonna become super valuable now. Like, check it out. I want to share it with you. This is like a hidden gem, truly. So it was like one of the most underperforming videos, but I always thought it was like such a cool video. So like Philip from the team like helped design this workflow, and it's essentially a way, talk to anyone with ChatGPT plus Character AI. This little video had a whole workflow in it where we use like a custom prompt that you can get here in the description to extract the personality of any character. So essentially you could go to any game wiki, you could go to any Wikipedia page, you could go to any article, and you could just extract the personality of the character mentioned in it, and then you could use that within character AI in this format, right? This like name, short description, long description, greeting, character definition, example dialogue, and it just extracted this, right, with the prompt that we shared in here. And then we went ahead and we shared it, and we just filled it out in character AI, and then you could use the custom GPT. What I'm trying to get at here is that this is essentially a step-by-step tutorial on how to build your own GPT with like a big prompt that can extract all the data you need for your own GPT. So I think like, yeah, I might have to like remake this video with like new packaging, but this is actually, this is a bit of a hidden gem. This prompt in here, this was such a fun process, and you can use this to build your own GPTs. So there you go. That's a little recommendation that I'm gonna have to revisit. But now you have it first because you're here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, 33 more minutes until the API is released. Nice. What's the difference between DALL-E 3 and DALL-E 3 HD? I'm not familiar. Is there a DALL-E 3 HD? Because I believe that DALL-E 3 produces, what was it? Was it 1080 times 1080 images? I believe. So it's like 1 megapixel. So I'm guessing like DALL-E 3 HD is going to be the 2 megapixels or 4. So it's probably going to have the upscaler that Midjourney has now too, right? I don't know. Not familiar though. Is there a new like a DALL-E HD API or a model? I'm not familiar. I don't see one inside of my ChatGPT. I don't know. That slipped my attention. Feel free to share that in chat. Okay, what else? Are the custom GPTs gonna have an API? Oh my god, the good questions coming out here. This is why I love doing these first impressions live. That's a great question. I think that would be insane if you could just like hit a button and share it. Just like in Notion, you're able to build a page and then you just like share it to web, right? If you had the same thing with GPTs and just hit a button and you have like an API that then you could use in your bots on Discord or Slack or your website or whatever, that'd be super cool. I guess it's just a question of time, right? That makes so much sense. Of course, you build it in the web interface and then you just share it with the world. You integrate it everywhere. If they don't have it right off. So they had this like share button on the top right? So the question is like, is it just going to be like a give people access to a web interface where they can chat with it type of share? Or is it more like the type of share that BotPress or VoiceFlow has where you can like embed it into a website or you get an API? I think that'd be great to have. I kind of wish they'd improve the token limit in ChatGPT as well. I'm sure that's coming. No concrete announcements around that, but you know, if they're bumping the API from 32 to 128K, then some of that is going to trickle down to the web interface for sure. I don't see many people talking about AI in construction. Do you have any comment about that? Interesting question. I actually had a fantastic conversation with a person that I'm not gonna name, but he essentially runs a big construction company, and he was looking at ways to integrate AI, and it seems rather tricky because a lot of the problems in construction are very complex, and you're very limited by the context windows, right? So if you're only able to input 32,000 tokens, a lot of construction problems, they're just too big of a problem. You need like too much context to make the right decision or give the right advice. So I think with the bigger context windows, it's going to become more useful. But yeah, I think for planning, for like, you know, organizing Gantt charts, it's going to be huge for sure. That's what we talked about. It's like just perfectly coordinating all the suppliers and having like all the logic and all the dependencies, you know, like the electrician is only able to start once, or like the people that put in the floor are only able to start once the electrician is done with, you know, phase 3 of his project. And if it has like all these little dependencies with a big enough context window, I think that's gonna make construction much more efficient down the line. But I don't see it being like a, you know, night and day type of game changer for that industry. Maybe I'm not seeing all the opportunities, but The playground version just appeared. It can be set for up to about 11K prompts plus output characters. That's so cool. Nice. Wireframe sketching, Vision API, fancy UI builder, dynamic. Okay. Yeah. So you sketch out a wireframe for a website, then use the Vision API to read it, and use fancy UI to build the user interface. There you go. That's a web dev workflow right there. Yeah, with the API, it's gonna be huge. The Vision API, honestly, that's probably Vision API and the GPTs. Those are my two favorites here. Where do you have to do that? I don't know. Yeah, so YMV T3K. I don't do my books with invoices. I don't even do my bookkeeping. My accountant does. So my accountant does my bookkeeping too, but she always asks for all the invoices from the month. So she compared the invoices to the bank transactions. And I have to like dig up those invoices myself. I don't know. It was the same for my company in Austria, and it's the same for my company in Slovakia now. So let's see. I'm legally blind and have been using text-to-speech and speech-to-text for years. 11 Labs by far is the best out there. Yes, I agree. By cloning your voice and adjusting the setting, it's perfect. Yeah, man. Dude, then some of these upgrades are going to be huge for you, man. That's exciting. Wow. Love it. Jim Wells, DALL-E 3 HD model shows up today in the API. Cool, so there's going to be a separate API with higher resolution. I'm here for it. Grüße aus dem kalten Deutschland. Grüße aus dem warmen Portugal. Anyway, I tried Whisper with V3. That also dropped, right? God, so much to talk about. But yeah, there you go. MemGPT. Yeah, that would be interesting. Selenium will automate all that. Yeah, I mean, I guess it can already, right? I guess I could like recreate the whole thing in Selenium. I don't know, might be worth it. So apparently 128K equals to 300 pages, a book with approx. Yeah, that's fair, but like what's the page size on that, right? Because depending on the size of the page, you might also be looking at I think when I ran the math like on a Harry Potter book, I think Harry Potter 1 is the shortest one if I'm not mistaken. And the 100K context window, I think could, and don't quote me on this, but from the testing I've done, it could take the whole Harry Potter 1 book, the Claude, right? Which would be, no, I think it was like right at the edge. I think the 128K context window should be able to take the whole Harry Potter 1 book. And that's more than 300 pages. That's like 400 or 500 pages. Okay, I'll take a note and I'll have to do some research and double checking on this, but context window. Because it just hasn't been a big topic so far, right? Only Claude had like the 100K window. But I'd be curious, like, what type of pages, you know? Because it's different. If you have a hardcover from like a soft cover, it's just, you know, pages vary. And then there's more pages and they're smaller. Okay. Let's see. Where the easily buildable GPT models can be constructed in the future. Yeah, so Pinja, don't worry. We're absolutely going to be covering that. That's one of the things that I'm most excited about, the GPTs. So we're going to do, you know, we're going to do beginner tutorials. We're going to do more advanced things. Definitely covering that. So, you know, keep an eye out for that. Do we know when the token will be 128K? So, no, you know, even the 32K model was announced in March, but only enterprise users had it so far, if I'm not mistaken, right? And some select users. So it's just not, we don't know. They said like the new GPT-4 Turbo API available from today, but greetings from Finland. Yeah, the GPT models, exactly. So that's what we've been talking about for the past half an hour. It's the GPTs to help startup. Yeah, so it's going to be inside of the chat interface. So chat.openai.com. In there, you're going to have like a store and you're going to have a builder. And we're definitely going to cover that. We're going to live stream it. We're going to create videos around it. I mean, this has somehow become a bit of a ChatGPT focus channel, which I didn't intend to make it. And we're going to go broader again. I think especially some of the Gen 2 updates recently and stuff really got me excited, and I want to cover those more in depth. But we've been just doing so much product development recently that was the focus. But definitely, like, long story short, we're gonna cover that in depth for sure, and we're gonna show like all the different angles, and we're gonna review like bots, people. I don't know. I'm just gonna like, it's gonna be a big focus topic for sure. Can you see my chat for real? Yes, man, I can. A few minutes ago, the 128K version arrived in a playground chat system. Max 11,000 characters. Prompt plus output. Nice. So it seems like some people here in chat already have it. So there you go. You can go to the playground and play around with it. Yep, it just arrived. So let's maybe before we talk about the assistants here, which are essentially OpenAI native agents, but they're not calling it that. So before we talk about those, let's have a quick look. At the playground. Let's see. Yep, here it is. I have it too. Wow. So let's see. Let me switch over. And yeah, this is only going to be playground, guys. So like, this is API access, right? So for anybody new to this, there's a big difference between ChatGPT web interface and the playground interface. So, you know, this is chat.openai.com. This is ChatGPT. And this is the API, GPT-4 API. There's a difference. The difference is like, through the API, you pay for every message you send, right? So if I go to like my account, they moved this around a little bit recently. But if you go around, you know, if I go to usage, I'm going to be able to kind of review the usage here. There you go. So, you know, yesterday, $25, before that, $30. We've been generating a lot here. But essentially, here you pay for every request, right? With ChatGPT, this model is for free, and this model costs $20 a month, which is a steal when you compare it to, you know, using this. But this gives you more options. So, you know, you can pick your model here. And for example, right here, we have the 11.06 preview. So this is the today's model. And I would love to learn more about it, but let's just use it in the chat. Temperature is fine. So I would love to see more details on this. Let's look into the documentation. Did I have some docs on 11.06? No, I don't see any. Models. So, oh, there you go. Here it is. Here it is. So this is GPT-4 Turbo. So this is the one that came out. So we don't have vision preview yet, but that's really cool. With improved instruction following, it has the JSON mode, reproducible outputs, parallel function calling, and more. Returns a maximum of 4,000 tokens. This preview model is not suited for production traffic. Okay. And there you go. This is the 128K token. So I guess that's the big... That's a big announcement. And also the cutoff is April 23, right? Not September 21. So that's huge. So right, so that's the thing, yeah, right? Like in here, you're gonna have a token limit of 8K tokens, which is like what, like 6,000 characters? 6,000 characters, yeah. And here you're gonna have 100,000 characters. So I could, you know, I could take I somewhere had the PDF of the Little Prince. There you go. What? My bad. There you go. So here's the Little Prince, which is like a long PDF, right? It's like a 64-page PDF. And what I could do now is I could just open this in a PDF reader. So first of all, we're gonna count the words on this, right? So can I like select all this? Cool. I'm just gonna open up Word. We're just gonna do a quick live experiment here, right? And I'm gonna just use this as a word counter. Should be down here. So this is 17,000 words, this Little Prince document, okay? So as I mentioned, like GPT in web has a limit of, you know, 6,000 characters. And this is 70, with spaces, it's 93,000 characters. Okay, so it could definitely, okay, so I must have gotten the Harry Potter thing wrong, but right here, a 64-page PDF, but these are like large pages, but the font is small, but then there's also pictures. I don't know, I guess it varies on the book, but like this with 93,000 characters, well, ChatGPT right here, it can take 6,000, right? This is 93,000, but what it should be able to do is we should be able to send a message here, and then, oh my god, what did I do? Okay, let's just go all the way to the top. Or let's just do story in 5 bullet points. And now we should get a summary of the entire Little Prince in 5 bullet points. If this works. Oh, my bad. But I forgot this. Yeah. However, your message resulted in 24,000 tokens. Yeah. So I ignored one essential part in my excitement here. There's a limitation on it here, right? They even said that returns a maximum of 4,000 output tokens. Yeah, there you go. So let's see. 300 pages of text in a single prompt. But no, the input should be 100K, right? And that just doesn't seem to work. I don't know. I might be a little confused here as I'm kind of live and multitasking. What am I missing here, guys? What am I missing? Why is this not working? The input should be working, right? It's just the output that is limited. Why can't I prompt this? To generate chat between the prompt and completion. Do I just have to bump this? But like, that's not enough, right? It's 4,000 tokens max. Oh wait, is it the wrong model? Did I have the wrong model? I maybe had the wrong model. Did I have the wrong model? I had the wrong model. My bad. It reset when I came back from the documentation. However, you requested 144,000 tokens. 120 in completion. So let me see. Let me figure this out. Okay, so I can do a max of like 60K should be fine. 6K should be fine, right? This should work. Okay. This model supports at most 4,000 completion tokens, whereas you provided 54,000. Okay. Let's just play around. Oh, now we hit the per minute limit. Is it just me or is this slider behaving weirdly? Why am I at 5K here and then at 3K here? Okay, let's try this again. And then let's move on to the final point here, which is assistant APIs. So, okay, so let's input this. Let's just see what happens if we just run it with the max length at 256. So that works. Okay, there you go. My bad. Yep, and we get a summary of the entire Little Prince, which is 95,000 characters, something like that, in 5 bullet points. Okay, it's not 5 bullet points, it's a bit more, but interesting, right? But it works. Like, we were able to summarize this. But I'm not fully satisfied this book with the results. So let's try again. And meanwhile, let me look at chat. Yeah, it worked. Nice, right? So now you can do this, right? And you're going to be paying for every prompt, and it's, you know, it's 3 times cheaper, 2.5 to 3 times cheaper. But yeah, GPT-4 Turbo is officially released. So from what we've seen early in the stream, you can, the knowledge cutoff of GPT-4 in ChatGPT is now April. So that means that's the new model already. And also, if you go to the playground, you're going to be paying for every prompt you run, but it works. There you go. So it summarizes The Little Prince. Themes include the innocence of childhood. The fable emphasizes looking. So that's right. So now the question is like, does it get the info from the whole text I provided, or does it actually, you know, just take it from its knowledge base because it probably knows about the Little Prince story? Would be interesting to test this in a more peculiar use case, but there you go. That's a good first look. So you can just go in here, platform.openai.com. Just make sure to select the GPT-4, you know, 6th of November, like 1106 preview model, and then you're actually getting the insane context window of 128K. I mean, what can I say? Bye, Claude. I'm sorry. Like, what? Yeah. I guess Claude is cheaper. And I guess for like certain creative writing tasks, I think there's a case to be made for Claude. So, you know, let me be fair there. But generally speaking, you know, this is really great. Just make sure that, you know, if you come back from the documentation, so, you know, here you can look at the models here. Here you have all the details. If you come back from the documentation, don't make the same mistake I did and just like select the correct model again. There you go. So that's that. That's our little, you know, that's our little preview of the model that just came live like 5 minutes ago. Nice. Yeah, okay. Sports better. I appreciate the support here. I appreciate the support in chat. I only have one screen on the setup. Fun fact, I actually brought a second screen to Portugal. I have like a full like 27-inch USB-C monitor here. But I brought the USB-C cable, but I forgot the power supply. So like the short story is that like I moved my entire office. We like AI Advantage went like full remote, and I moved the entire office into a storage room, and I moved my entire like apartment into a storage room. So now everything is like packed. Like you can't find anything. It's like we played Tetris with all the packages and basically with all the boxes, and basically somewhere in there's a power supply for my monitor here. So I ordered a new one from LG Spares, Portugal or whatever. And yeah, I've heard like a lot of bad stories about kind of the delays on Portuguese deliveries. But basically, long story short, I ordered it twice. Once they like sent it to Porto, which is like 3.5 hours from here. And the second time, they just left me on waiting since like 10 days. So yeah, there you go. Now I'm streaming off one screen. And it's basically kind of like impossible to source the power supply here. I don't know. Maybe I'll just buy a new monitor or I don't know. It's I tried twice. It didn't work. And the real one is buried somewhere in a storage room in Bratislava. So there you go. So that's why I have one screen. And that's why I can, yeah, when I was doing that, I didn't see chat. But now I'm back. So let's talk about Assistance API, right? I think it's time. Yeah, I'm in Portugal. I moved. I put everything I own into storage room. Took my computer, my you know, my MacBook, my lights, my cameras, my kite surfing gear, and like 5 t-shirts. And I just went to Lisbon. And yeah, in a week, biggest tech conference in Europe is happening here in a week. So that's going to be interesting content. If anybody's going to Tech Summit, you know, shoot me an email, shoot me a DM in Instagram, something. But yeah, let's get into the next one. So Assistance API, right? Finally. God, this is a long stream. I'm having fun. I hope you guys are enjoying it too. But essentially, Assistance API. So what's up? Yeah, screen. There you go. Here we are. So what's up with the Assistance API? Well, it's essentially their way of implementing agents, right? And they're not calling it agents because they kind of made this disclaimer of, you know, it's a precursor for agents. And I think that is actually a perfectly fair way of putting it because, you know, the dream of having like an agent that does your bidding and can search the internet and sends emails and like writes the text and like just works for you essentially, doesn't just assist you, but like actually completes the tasks. I think that vision resonates with most people instantly because it's like, it just makes sense. It's like, yes, have an AI model that like does things for me, doesn't just like help me brainstorm and ideate, but actually proactively tackles tasks. I think that most people get that idea. But, and here's the but, you know, it's just not there yet. Like if you look at all the apps, all the people that try to build it, it's just not there yet. Deb, you're being very sweet today. Thank you, appreciate that. But it's just not there yet, right? It's not good enough. So that's why they're calling this the assistant API and not the agent API. You know, I noted like agents in brackets because he also hinted like this is kind of their agents implementation, but it's just not good enough to call it like a full-on agent. So, but that's what it is. It's essentially like an API where you're going to be able to run autonomous agents through OpenAI native API. So what does it do? It's 4 things. They split it up into 4 things, right? So one of them, it can run a sandbox with Python code. So essentially you're going to get code interpreter in there, which is huge because if you ask it for certain tasks, it's just there's just so many Python packages. So even for the non-coders amongst you, like there's so many Python packages out there. So even the things that Python cannot do, you're gonna probably find a package that can do it, right? So for example, if you want to like open up a browser and you want to like click certain buttons and do things on the web, there's packages for that, right? Like Selenium being one of them, Chromium, whatever. That's the driver, okay? But like, point is, there's packages for essentially everything. You want to like take in images and like read text of that. There's like a bunch of like OCR packages. You want to browse the web through a certain search engine, there's packages for it. So you have packages for everything. So this is one thing. Through the API, you're going to be able to use all that. And by use, I mean you're going to be able to kind of like write the code, but then also run it in a sandbox environment. So that's actually pretty big, you know. You're going to be able to do that through a API call. So, but we had that with some of the auto GPTs and stuff before, but now, you know, they're going to have their official like code interpreter implementation. Did you realize how they kind of like went back and forth on the wording? Like when it released, it was code interpreter, then they renamed it to advanced data analysis, and now they called it code interpreter again. It's kind of interesting. Not significant, but interesting. I mean, like, who am I to say? I keep changing the terminology for our products all the time. It's just like over time you learn like what resonates with people and then you adjust it. It's like, I think code interpreter was kind of intimidating for a lot of people. That's why they backpedaled on that, I believe, when they went to like advanced data analysis. But now for the coders, they said they used code interpreter again. So I guess it just depends on your audience, right? Okay, so that's one of the points. The other one is essentially, you know, if I were to sum it up, it's you're going to be able to have long conversations with the agents. Long conversations that are coherent and where it actually like remembers what happened in those conversations. So yeah, that's going to be a second part of it, which is huge because usually these, with these auto GPT like apps, the conversations get very long, especially if you start deploying like multiple agents, assistants, right? You're going to have super long conversations. So GPT-4 with 128K context is going to be useful there. And also the improved function calling is going to be useful there. So this is like one of the things, you know, apparently like you're going to be able to run functions in parallel and it's improved and more reliable, which is huge because yeah, functions up until now, it's good, but reliable is not one of the words I would use for function calling within GPT 3.5 API, for example. So now it's going to be more reliable. So that's big. And if you don't know, functions are essentially tasks that code performs. So I don't know if you can have a function for Google search, right? And then you give access to your assistant to the Google search function. And you can have multiple of these. You could just like, you could code multiple functions and then give your agents access to it. So they're essentially kind of tools that your agent can use. I think that's the best layman's explanation to that. If you're not familiar with the concept of functions in code. They never explained what actions is. Yeah, that's true. OpenAI is coming close to auto GPT type stuff. Yeah, absolutely. I think this is their shot at that. And he also said they want to be rolling this out gradually. So this is just the first step towards it, right? So we're getting that. We're getting improved function calling, and we're also getting retrieval with it. So basically, you're going to be able to attach knowledge bases to the agents. So, you know, if you have an internal agent that is responsible for like, I don't know, you could do like an agent that does cold outreach, I guess, for your business. And you could give it like the 20 emails you used and the 20 email conversations in PDF format. And then it's going to be able to split them up into chunks and retrieve those chunks effectively. And this is something that is quite hard in practice, actually. So it's just going to do all that behind the scenes for you. You don't have to worry about it. And yeah, those are essentially the 4 big points in the agents. So big takeaways. It's like you're not going to have to deal with a lot of the technical headaches like chunking along the way. You're just going to like drag and drop, or you're just going to like upload the files and it's going to retrieve them effectively. And it's going to like retrieve them. And, you know, I'd rather have OpenAI handle that for me than having to figure that out by myself. So I think that's huge. And you're going to also have, and this is kind of the last point in my summary here, you're going to have voice input and output with the agents. So you're essentially going to have like an assistant. This is like the most Jarvis-like thing that we got here today, right? You're going to have an assistant that can go out there. It can call functions. It can search the internet. You can give it access to like the YouTube API and it just can like access all the data from there, right? Then it's going to have a code interpreter, like a Python sandbox environment where it can just like execute its own code and use all the packages in there. And it can like do stuff. Then it's going to like be able to retain long conversations, and you're going to be able to super easily like upload a bunch of data and documents to it, and it's going to have memory of those. So what does this mean in practice? Heck, I don't know. I guess it's just like a better agent for, like, time will show, right? Like, what does the Vision API mean in practice? Like, we have yet to find out. It's like asking, you know, what will people be using ChatGPT for on November the 30th? Like, this is November 30th, right? This is where they announced all this stuff. Like, this is, as a matter of fact, I think for developers, this is bigger than, you know, a chat interface for GPT-3 that has better RLHF. DocRock celebrates 8 months of membership. Aloha, Igor. Mahalo for Character Blueprint update. Yeah, man, I hope you enjoyed that. We're gonna talk about that shortly. It only went out to the previous buyers. We're gonna kind of reveal that soon here. Yeah. But yeah, so good to have you here, DocRock, man. But yeah, they're basically add-ons. Product made through the Assistant API. What do you think would be a popular... So I think this is a good product for everybody. So guys, like, I'll just put this up. Scott William just asked, what do you think would be a popular product made through the Assistant API? It's a good question. What do you guys think? I honestly don't know. Like, it seems to me that kind of the basic like chatbot use cases would be good, right? Like internal HR onboarding chatbot and cold outreach chatbots, stuff like that. That could be really cool, where you let it draft emails and find various contacts. That could be good. Is this agent included in ChatGPT Plus? No. So this is an important kind of fact that I have to like repeat. So this Assistant API, it's an API. It's purely like through code. You can access this API. You're going to be able, I'm sure they have a new playground for it. So you don't have to use like a, you know, IDE like VS Code to access this. You don't have to like know coding to access it. You can use the playground. But with these APIs, it's essentially you pay for every single request. That's a big difference here, right? You pay for every single request, as opposed to ChatGPT, where you pay like either nothing for GPT 3.5 or $20 a month for GPT Plus. And there you go. You can just like use it as much as you want. So yeah, what do you guys think would be a popular product made through the Assistants API? I think this is a great question. In 10 years, we will not ask ChatGPT for assistance. You will take orders and it will tell you how to live. That sounds dystopian and sad, but I think it sounds also true. So I don't know. Okay. Assistants cost 3 cents per hour according to the help pages. Interesting. Yeah, some people coming in just now watching the beginning. Yeah. So there you go. That's kind of it. So the question to everybody, what do you think would be a popular product made through the Assistants API? I don't know. Like, that's a great question. I think you can make a lot. But let's do this. Like, let's do a do everything bot. I don't see any updates for my GPT-4. Yeah, so GPT-4 inside ChatGPT is already updated. It already has the GPT-4 Turbo that has knowledge cutoff in March 23. And here I would just open it up. Like, any more questions? I think we handled a ton. If not, I would like to briefly show you what we created, and there's gonna be a video on the channel within a week. Everybody who bought the previous product already got this, but I think this is like, it's like legit the most innovative thing we have done and built this year, and I would love to show it to you guys live. And you know, it's a whole workflow, and I think it's very, very relevant for concretely for the GPTs here. Yeah. So like with what I'm about to show you, you're gonna be able to build your GPT super easily. GPT, raise my children. That's, yeah. I wanna go on vacation. I wanna go clubbing. Raise my kid. Yeah, they're gonna be, the GPTs are gonna be the caring grandparents that come in and take over, right? Yeah. Coach Deb, welcome to the AI Advantage membership, where you're essentially buying me like a coffee a month, and in return you get a member's badge. There's like not really much happening with the membership, but you get a beautiful badge, and you get priority replies and comments, but it's just a way of kind of saying thank you for the content. Good to have you on board. We're going to be doing more in terms of membership and community soon. And the members will be, you know, second in line behind course members in all we do. I'll just say that. Okay. When is GPT-4 Turbo coming to Plus? Now. If you go into GPT-4 and ask it when is it knowledge cutoff, it will tell you April 23. So it's already in there. Thank you. Enjoy the latte. When will this be live? Later this month? Yeah. So you can, as I mentioned, you can already access some of this. So, you know, if you ask it right now, when is your knowledge cutoff, it will tell you April 23. This means this is the turbo model already, the GPT-4 Turbo model. Yeah, I'll just do it again. And then if you go to platform.openai.com/playground, then you're able to pick this GPT-4 1106 model, which is the 128K context model. Cool, huh? And there you go. Knowledge cutoff is this. So these things are already shipped. The other ones, not so much. So you don't get to, they're not combined yet. You don't have the store yet. We don't have the assistance API yet, I believe. But there you go.